The Parks Youth Collaborative, a research study to create a pre- and post-training assessment. The research team for this study included Araceli Montero, Jill Huender, and Ryan Fetzer, all of whom are graduate students in Recreation, Parks, and Tourism at San Francisco State University. This research project was part of a class for Dr. Jackson Wilson in RPT 810 Research Methods during the spring of 2015 semester. What is the Parks Youth Collaborative, or the PYC? The PYC is comprised of 3 different organizations: the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, the Golden Gate Parks Conservancy, and the Presidio Trust. The Park Youth Collaborative is committed to offering the highest quality programs for youth in the Presidio and larger Golden Gate National Recreation Area. The program approaches are embedded in best practices for youth development and education towards the following goals. 1. To help youth develop their skills, qualities, and attitudes they need to be successful. And 2. To support youth's positive connection with their culture and national heritage. The Parks Youth Collaborative has adopted the following standards for every program which engages children, youth, and their families in the parks. The standards are meant to inform programmatic design as well as ongoing staff training and professional development. These standards provide a benchmark against which programs can be measured, and a commitment to continuous improvement can be made. The 5 PYC standards are access, safety, excellence, engagement, and impact. The purpose of this research study, working with the PYC, was to create an assessment tool to evaluate the effectiveness of a PYC in-service training among PYC staff in attendance. As part of our literature review for this research study, we looked at 4 different concepts. The concepts included 1. The psychological issues in questionnaire-based research. 2. The guidelines to designing effective surveys. 3. Training effectiveness. And 4. How to use the survey results to improve training.
Stakeholder interviews were conducted as a method to further understand the goals of PYC. 6 interviews were conducted with at least 1 person from each organization. 1 interview was held with Lisa Hillstrom from the Presidio Trust. Other interviews were held with Renelle Toro, Christy Roca, Charity Mulberry from the Golden Gate Parks Conservancy, and interviews with Lynn Fonfa and Nancy Kaplan from the National Park Service were conducted. The goals of these interviews were to further understand the relationships with PYC, to find out what information they wanted to see from the survey, and also to find out how the information will be useful and how it will be actionable. The key themes found from the stakeholder interviews were that they wanted to understand the training effectiveness, the youth development, the opinions and values of staff, the application of knowledge gained by staff, and also understand how they can apply it to their work.
Another method we used during our process was the cognitive interviews. We conducted 6 interviews with 6 people that were similar to those that would be taking our final survey. During these interviews, we used the think aloud technique, which meant that all respondents would think aloud about what they thought about our questions and the possible answers they could give. We used verbal probes to further analyze and check for understanding of the respondents' answers. We also used nonverbal cues and critical thinking of each of the survey questions that we asked. As a result of these cognitive interviews, we noticed that all 6 respondents thought that the content of the questions was good and appropriate and meaningful. We did realize that we needed to change some grammatical things, and we needed to delete a couple of questions that were unclear or unnecessary.
A key aspect to our methodology was the survey data collection process. The surveys were distributed by PYC staff during 2 in-service trainings on April 28th and April 29th, 2015 at the Presidio Visitor Center. Prior to the start of the training, this pre-survey was distributed and completed upon arrival. The post-survey was completed at the conclusion of the training. In total, we collected 46 surveys from a total of 46 participants. On day 1, 22 surveys were collected, and on day 2, 24 surveys were collected. The pre-survey assessment consisted of 5 questions on a 5-point Likert scale, with 1 being strongly disagree, 2 disagree, 3 neutral, 4 agree, and 5 strongly agree. The questions were: 1. The topic of this training is of value to me within my position and will assist me with my work. 2. I feel that I already have sufficient knowledge about today's training topic. 3. I believe the organization I work for values and supports the issues being discussed at today's training. 4. Attending this training will encourage me to get to know others and promote unity among all 3 PYC organizations. And 5. The location and setting for this training appears to be a comfortable and ideal learning environment for me. We also added 1 open-ended question. What would you like to learn more about regarding today's training topic in relation to your job? The post-survey assessment also consisted of a 5-point Likert scale, with 1 being strongly disagree, 2 disagree, 3 neutral, 4 agree, and 5 strongly agree. The questions included: 1. This staff training was of relevance to my present job and daily responsibilities. 2. The training provided me with more knowledge about this topic. 3. This training furthers my belief that the organization I work for values and supports the issues discussed. 4. I was able to get to know others and promote unity among all 3 PYC organizations today. 5. The location and setting for this training was a comfortable and ideal learning environment for me. And 6. What I learned today coincides with the standards and indicators outlined by the PYC. In addition, we had 3 open-ended questions. 1. Explain what inspired you most about the training. 2. Explain what inspired you least about the training. And 3. Provide 1 example of how you can apply something you learned today on your job.
Based on the quantitative results of our surveys that we analyzed, we came to the following conclusions. As you can clearly see in these graphs, most of the answers of the pre-training surveys are concentrated around the answers 4 and 5. 4 and 5 means that participants either strongly agreed or agreed with the statements of the questions. As you can clearly see here, the colors represent the questions, the values underneath the colors represent the possible answers. You see that there's a high concentration with 4 and 5 and that there are 2 exceptions. The exceptions are with question 3, where 15 respondents for day 2 and 13 respondents for day 1 answered 3 instead of 4 or 5. We will explain more about these exceptions by the next slide. These exceptions showed us that there were 2 questions where 47.82% answered neutral to the question that asked whether they had already had sufficient knowledge on the topic. The rest of the people answered agree or strongly agree. Based on this information, we can say that we should either review that question and change it for future surveys, or that we should state the question differently. Maybe it was unclear to people whether they already had enough information because we conducted this survey before the training. Maybe they just didn't know what was exactly going to be discussed in the training. This question needs to be reviewed for future surveys.
These results focus on question number 6 from the pre-training assessment. This question states, what would you like to learn more about regarding today's training topic in relation to your job? The results on the left side represent the results from day 1 of the survey. The results on the right side represent the results from day 2 of the survey. On the first day, about 18 people responded and 4 people did not respond. And from the result, we realize that most people attending the training would like to get influenced, have a cultural competency, and have more personal experiences in the training. On day 2 of the training, about 13 people responded and 11 people did not respond. Most people that answered the survey said that they wanted to learn more about how to make more outreach efforts and new ideas about cultural competence.
Based on the results of the survey that we conducted after the training, you can also see that there is a strong focus on answers 4 and 5. So again, those answers were I either strongly agree or I agree with the statement in this question. You can also see that there's not many exceptions to this. Besides with day 1, the third question again, possible answer was 3, neutral. We will further explain this exception in the next slide. In this chart, the colors again represent the questions and the values underneath the colors represent the possible answers. Based on the results of the survey that we conducted after the training, we came to the following conclusions. Most participants answered 4 or 5 to all questions. That means that they either strongly agree or agree with the statements in the questions. Based on those results, we can conclude that the participants thought that the training was relevant, the training increased their knowledge on the topic, the training increased the appreciation of participants for their employing organization. Participants said that they also liked the venue and the location, and that the topic aligned with the participants' understanding of the PYC standards. 32.6% answered neutral to the question that asked whether the training stimulated cross-organization contact and unity. That means that this issue needs to be addressed again for future training development.
All of the results from the post-training survey. These answers represent question number 7 from the post-training assessment. Question number 7 states, explain what inspired you most about the training. On the left side, we see results from day 1, and on the right side, we see results from day 2. On day 1, 22 people responded, and most people that responded claiming that the brown paper bag is what inspired them the most about this training. On day 2, 23 people responded and 1 person did not respond. Most people shared that the stories presented in this training was most inspirational, the personal connections, and the ability to share with others. Question number 8 states, explain what inspired you least about the training. The chart on the right side represents the results from day 2. The charts on the left side represent the results from day 1. On day 1, about 12 people responded and 10 did not respond. Most people, as you can see, did not give any feedback on what inspired them least about the training. However, the ones that did agreed that the agree-disagree activity was the least inspirational. On day 2, 13 people responded and 10 people did not respond. So most people did not give any feedback on what inspired them least. But the people that did recalled that the brown bag activity was not their favorite and the scale activity during the training was also Lisa's inspiration. Question number 9 states, provide one example of how you can apply something you learned today in your job. The results represented in chart on the left side are from day 1, and the results represented in the chart on the right side are from day 2. On day 1, everyone responded to this question. 22 total people responded. Most people said that they would apply more equity to their job, inclusiveness to their job, and have more empathy. On day 2, about 19 people responded and 5 people did not respond. Most people, about 5 people that didn't respond are in the category of nothing. The people that did respond, however, a lot of people shared that they would like to try to understand different paths better after this training, include the belief creation cycles into their job, and also share this with the employees they work with.
After analyzing the results from this study, the following recommendations are being made to the PYC by the research team. Number 1, the PYC should not solely rely on these types of trainings to promote unity among the 3 organizations. Number 2, an idea was mentioned by a participant to host agency days where everyone visits one of the organizations and observes each other's work to help build understanding and support for each other. Number 3, it is recommended to incorporate activities that are sensitive to people's personal perspectives or beliefs and are more inclusive, not host activities that force people to self-identify. Some of the activities incorporated in this training ask people to identify their income level or their sexual orientation. This made people feel uncomfortable. Number 4, having presentations or trainings that are inspirational, intimate, and applicable to one's work seem to be preferred by most employees. Number 5, on the pre-survey questionnaire, Question 2, which asked, I feel that I already have sufficient knowledge about today's training topic, may not be necessary and could be removed or rephrased differently. Number 6, surveys similar to this one should be given to all future PYC trainings to continue to improve effectiveness and efficiency. This research project would not have been possible without the help of many. We definitely want to give a special thanks to Lisa Hillstrom from the Presidio Trust, Renelle Toro, Christy Roca, and Charity Mayberry from the Golden Gate Parks Conservancy, Lynn Fonfa and Nancy Kaplan from the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.